Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Tuesday, September the 30th, 2025, and today we're celebrating 1 year of this show. Insert a kazoo sound here. So we'll talk a little bit about that and what I've learned over the last year and what the experience of doing a daily show is. We will take a question about when to cover what crops, for the cold, then talk about what to cover them with. So let's do it. All right, how about that version of the theme song from Joshua Hoyer to round out our celebratory September? It goes on for a bit longer than that, so we will play the rest of it later in the show, but happy Tilth Tuesday, everyone. Every Tuesday this year will be brought to you by our friends at Tilth Soil. If you're looking for compost or propagation mix, check out tilthsoil.com. The link will be in the show notes, and it isn't just any old Tilth Tuesday. It's also the 1 year anniversary of this daily show, which is wild, but we'll talk about all that in a minute. First, a quick reminder that we will be going live again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't send me your questions anywhere but here tomorrow during the live, though, because sometimes people send me messages, for questions for the live while I'm doing the live on other platforms, and I just don't see them because I'm here. So make sure to get those in here tomorrow on the live stream. I have started popping my garlic here in Kentucky, and I hope to start getting it into the ground today or tomorrow, or at least finish popping it today. I don't like to plant and then pop again. If I don't have to, I'd rather have it all popped and then just go ahead and plant it all. But sometimes that's the way it goes, especially in this situation where I want to plant some of the garlic into the peas, which are coming along nicely. I need to do that before the peas take over that whole area, so I can actually see the soil where I'm putting the garlic. So anyway, that's the plan. Just got to find the time in between that and harvesting for restaurants today. So no big deal. Anyway, so here we are 1 year into this wild experiment we call Growers Daily. I envisioned the show a couple years before it started, I guess, because of how much I just love and kind of need daily shows in my own life. They are often the thing that gets me started in the morning, but then also the thing that gets me motivated to start again after lunch and specifically my nap in the afternoon. And I guess I originally sort of imagined it to be more like a sports talk radio show, but for, farming. However, unlike in sports where you have games and trades and news to talk about almost every day, there's almost no news in market gardening. Not really. Some policies here or there, some, personal stories, but it's hard to just sit here and banter about farming in the same way that sports people can banter about sports. Also, sports shows often have multiple people who talk with each other instead of just one. But we don't have the budget for anything like that, at least not yet. So for the moment and for the last year, obviously, it's just been me with Mike editing these last 6 months. And I hope you all have enjoyed it. To be sure, it's been one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. I've said this before, but my days start at 2:50 a.m. To get the requisite notes and research done before the show each day, just to make sure I'm as accurate as I can be. Then I record, take the kids to school if it's my turn, and then farm for the day while Mike edits the show. Then it's, soccer practice, dinner, and bedtime before 9 p.m. But Mike and I have a nice rhythm with the production and editing all, coming together nicely. Typically, I come in from working outside in the kind of the late morning, I guess, and review the edit. Then we all have lunch, and then Mike will head home. I will take a nap, and that part of the day is done. At first, though, until Mike came, which big shouts to Mike for all of his help, it was just me doing all of that, and it was definitely not sustainable. I was basically doing everything until about 11 or 12 p.m. and then trying to farm. That's kind of difficult to just have half a day of farming, especially the half of the day that's kind of hot. This show truly only survived because you all were kind enough to support it, and to the point that I could hire an editor. And you continue to support it, so it continues to survive. In fact, it was functional enough this summer that I felt like I almost underdid it in the garden. I had originally just pulled back just to make sure I didn't overwhelm myself. And in retrospect, I maybe pulled back a little bit too much on the farming and probably could have done a little bit more, which is actually a nice feeling. And we may bump it up a little bit more next year. Now, I can't promise the show won't evolve or that I won't try new things regularly, because that's kind of how I roll. We will certainly do more interviews over the winter as farmers have more time to indulge me, and maybe one day I can bring on, another personality to hang out with me more, at least on occasion. It's kind of quiet and lonely in here sometimes. Assuming budget-wise we can get there, which brings up a good question for you all. In fact, what would you all like more of out of the show? Or potentially less of. I'm always open to new ideas. I've said it before, but I would love, a call-in show, for an example, and or maybe just to start having Patreon members submit their questions in video form sometimes. The challenge that is more technical than anything else because Patreon doesn't offer like a simple way of having patrons just, send large files. But I really do love having your voices and your farms and stuff featured on here sometimes. Someone mentioned last week that they enjoyed when I talk politics, and plenty others have said, shut up and dribble. And well, the good news or bad news, depending on your viewpoint, is that I actually cannot and don't, in fact, talk politics at all because we are a nonprofit. I can talk about policies or agencies or politicians or businesses that affect farmers or ecology or the environment or whatever, because those are within our scope as we focus on ecological market gardening. However, nonprofits cannot advocate for or against a particular candidate. There's nothing in what's called the Johnson Amendment about advocating for favorite soccer teams, though, thankfully. Anyway, it has been a wild year. It has been a tough year in many ways too, but fun and challenging. And I've learned a ton from you all and from the research. And I just want to thank you all for the support and for your continued comments and contributions. The YouTube channel is nearing like 400,000 subscribers, I think, which is seems like a cool number. Patreon continues to grow. Shouts to Storytime. And it just wouldn't be possible without you all. And of course, your 20-second farm clips, which you can continue to send those to farmermike@notillgrowers.com at any time, obviously. That's awesome. I guess in short, you all rock. Anyway, let me know your thoughts that you have on this show, or ideas, or farming, or just the world in general. That's fine too. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, when to protect your crops from the cold, BRB.
Hey nerds, Farmer Mike here. Jesse doesn't know I'm doing this, but I can do what I want because I'm an adult now. Just wanted to say at the end of that segment about how the last year has gone, a hearty collective thank you from all the nerds. I think I can speak for every one of us, in fact, when I say thank you, Jesse, for getting up early, for researching, for answering our questions, and just being sort of a companion to us as we harvest, plant, seed, wash, pack, and do all the things. So big thank you. And here's to 15 more years, or maybe 30 more years, or maybe 100 more years of all your good, delicious farming wisdom. Thanks.
Farmer Claire Coleman here from the Winter Growers Podcast. Did you know that I also founded Real Farmer Care, a nonprofit that supports farmer well-being? From my own experiences farming, I knew firsthand that this type of support was missing from ag, so I decided to do something about it. As of today, there are over 500 farmer recipients of a $100 self-care award, with more applying daily. If you'd like to help, each $100 donated supports one new farmer. Visit realfarmercare.com to donate and learn more. Again, that's realfarmercare.com.
If you, the listener or viewer, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. I will try to get to questions from everywhere the questions come in, but I will always get to your Patreon questions. Now, today's Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Adam Van Queek, who writes, quote, "My farm is in West Michigan. Sunday nights temperatures / Monday morning is forecasted to be anywhere from 40 to 43 degrees. That's 4 to 6 degrees Celsius, which means my microclimate, where my peppers and some grape tomatoes are, will see temperatures around 4 to 5 degrees lower than the forecast. Should I harvest everything on the pepper and tomato plants? Do I need to harvest the plants when the rest of the week's forecasted temperatures are predicted to be in the mid to upper 40s and low 50s? Will one night in the possible upper 30s, 3 to 4 Celsius, damage those plants?" End quote. All right. Thanks, Adam, and great question here. Now, I did answer this one when it came in because Adam added the alarm bell. So Patreon members, if you do have a pressing question that you need answered right away, make sure to include that so I can get you something to work with, and then cover it for everyone else more in depth later, like right now. Because as I've said before, we don't do private consultations and instead prefer to do that stuff publicly so everyone can benefit from it. Anyway, as I told Adam, if it were me and we were getting an early risk of a patchy frost like that, I would cover the more sensitive crops like tomatoes and peppers, but I would not necessarily harvest them. The thing with Apache frost, which we will get here at least around like 37 degrees Fahrenheit or 2.7 degrees Celsius, is that it can definitely damage some of the tomatoes or pepper fruit and some of the plants, but it is not likely to cause super long-term damage. They will likely recover the plants, but if they have a load of fruit on them right now, some of the green fruit and certainly some of the mature fruit can become unsellable. My general approach to covering in questionable situations like that, where it's right on the edge, is why not cover? If the answer is, well, there isn't much fruit there and the season season is almost done, then yeah, don't cover, don't worry about it. But if it's financially or kitchenly worth it to cover them, yeah, then why the heck not? Generally speaking, it's better to err on the side of caution because no forecast is going to be perfect. Your low spots will be colder than your higher spots. All those sort of things come into play. Now, there is an argument to be made with fall and winter crops to hold off on covering certain things like lettuce, spinach, and kale until you get into multiple hard frosts in a row territory, because that will help harden them off a bit. So like the tunnels, for instance, which are unheated, we will not cover until lows are calling for 25 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 3.5 degrees Celsius. We want those plants to be really hardy for the winter, so we will push them a little bit up until that point, and then any night it is likely to dip below those temperatures, we will cover them. It just kind of hardens them off. And then anytime it is dipping below 15 degrees or negative 9 degrees Celsius, we will even double cover them, even in the tunnel. Then in the morning, when the sun is on the tunnel and the heat returns and the row cover's not frozen to the ground, we will uncover them so that they can get maximum airflow, because you don't want to keep them covered for too long because they can't breathe too well. And the fungi are like, yeah, this is awesome. It's dark, it's cold, there's no air movement. So yeah. In the field, beyond the the sensitive summer stuff, which for most of us is like winding down at this point, the fall stuff I like to cover when we are starting to get multiple hard frosts in a row, because those frosts will slowly burst the cell walls, and although the plants can recover from one or two of those in a row, too many frosts and the stems start to turn to mush, and even if they are still harvestable, flavor really dives. So anyway, that's my thoughts on when to cover what. Let me know what you all do in your regions. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk about what to use for that cover. Be right back. Today's episode of the Growers Daily is brought to you by Farmhand. Farmhand is the virtual assistant built for farmers, helping CSAs scale sales, run error-free fulfillment, and deliver 5-star service. Whether you're at 100 members or 1,000, Farmhand helps you grow without burning out. You've heard us and our farmers right here on Growers Daily. Explore farmer wins and learn more at farmhand.partners/no-till. That's farmhand.partners/no-till. All right, back to the show. All right, so piggybacking off of Adam's question there a little bit, I thought we would just talk about what to look for in row cover. Again, I hope to experiment a little bit with this in the upcoming season with some burlap and see what any potential like frost protection we could get from that, at least for those light frosts in the spring. But for the moment, most of what I'm going to be talking about is petrol-based products like Agribon or Duraspin or Remay or whatever the brand may be. The thing to think about when shopping for these products is what is referred to as weight. So on the light side, you have 0.5 ounce weight row covers, and on the heavier side, you have things like 2 ounce weight. The lighter the row cover weight, the more light it allows in, and the more cold it also allows in. Conversely, the heavier the row cover, the less light it lets in, but the more cold it keeps out, or you could just say that it traps more heat in. So if you're trying to grow into the dead of winter in the field, I have seen in milder regions where things like the 1.5 ounce row covers can protect field crops well into December and even January, though getting them unfrozen from the ground can be fun. Those lighter ones that are closer to the 0.5 ounce ones are generally considered insect netting with a slight amount of frost protection. I will say, though, that for the most part, the ones I've used at this weight, like the really light ones, don't hold up super well, but I've not used every brand. I mean, there may be some brands that hold up better at the lighter weights than others, and I would be curious to hear from anyone who has used the lightweight Duraspin brands or some of those others, if they've held up for multiple seasons for you or not. My preference in general is the 0.9 ounce to 1 ounce row covers. That can be used as frost protection from fall into the spring. Then I use standard insect netting for insect protection. If I need both insect and frost protection, but I don't want it to get too hot underneath of the protection, I just use the insect netting or double it up, because although it lets most of the heat out, it does not let all of the heat out. That's an important distinction. This is an assumption I made early on, that insect netting did not trap too much heat, to devastating consequences because it overheated some of my summer stuff, like the tender arugula and that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind on hot days. The season extending capabilities of row cover are just quite amazing, and I will use them as much to protect crops as to warm the soil in the spring and maybe get weeds to germinate, effectively putting the row cover over an area, pulling it off, cultivating the weeds, planting, and then recovering it again. I think that's kind of redundant, but you get the idea. Gaining a few degrees of soil temps in the process. Anyway, let me know your thoughts or questions on covering stuff or row cover in general, or just wait to ask me on the live tomorrow. That works too. Otherwise, I think that is it for this Tilth Tuesday. But before we go, we're going to get a quick word from our friends at Rimmel Greenhouse Systems. Whether you're growing tomatoes for market, flowers in the spring, or vegetables for your family, growing in a high tunnel protected from the weather provides the right environment for a harvest you can count on. Rimmel greenhouses are strong, durable, and easy to assemble, offering the quality you need to grow productively year-round. The team of experts at Rimmel Greenhouse Systems will be your trusted partners to ensure you get exceptional value from your greenhouse or high tunnel investment. Visit Rimmel.com today to get growing. Don't forget, No-Till Growers is officially a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. You can learn more about how to do that in the show notes. Also, if you just appreciate the show and want to keep seeing it grow and go, I guess, you can do a super thanks. You can do that on YouTube. There's just a little button there that says, hey, thanks for the show. I appreciate it. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at notillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music and Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear.
I'll take the wheel if you start to yawn.
Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at notillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/notillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, you sign up in the last day of September, you get a shout out on the show. So big shout outs today to Pastor Earl and Karen Mason. Shouts to you all for keeping the story going this week. So you will remember our author friend, Dennis, has received a mysterious letter that suggests his writing can be quote unquote brought to life, and decides to go to this meeting place, recommended on this letter. It's actually a well-known and familiar address in this town because almost every resident works there. It's the local tech company that no one is 100% sure what they do, even or especially the employees, AI something or other. Anyway, Dennis isn't particularly tech savvy, and the only work he's done there was some catering, like a side gig, and it was not very good for story fodder, so it wasn't something he thought about much. So anyway, Dennis shows up at the time and location of the meeting. His mom calls, and as he's walking in, but he ignores it. She's been wanting him to fix her plumbing for a couple weeks. So, and anyway, he plans to head and see her afterward. But so he enters the building. He finds the room, and he finds that it's just him. He kind of expected other people to be there, but the interviewer, or the director, I guess, is a nice woman who introduces herself warmly, but is clearly in a hurry. She doesn't spend a lot of time on this, but she directs Dennis to a table and says, it's going to be easier to show you what we're looking for rather than tell you. And she sits Dennis in front of this like large box with a little keyboard and just like a little, think like an iPad screen next to him. And she tells him, type out a really simple story, like, Jack and Jill level, and then hit the submit button on the screen. So Dennis thinks about it for a minute, and he types out, Caroline and Phil ride their bikes from California to South Carolina. And then he hits submit. Suddenly, the box before him jumps to life, and he sees a sort of 3D image of two people riding their bikes across deserts and then mountains and then over a bridge. It's like magic. It's not like watching TV because it's like it's three-dimensional. It's physical. You can walk around it, and the perspective changes, and it's really, really amazing. And the lady looks at Dennis and says, "So, do you want the job?" Dennis, confused and awed simultaneously, says, "What is the job exactly?" And that is it's going to be for Thursday because tomorrow is the live on The Brain Picture. See, Dennis's titles are just not great. Anyway, we'll work on it. Thanks for watching and or listening. We'll see you then for live 9 a.m. tomorrow. Bye.